everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. I am joined today by Alexi Cortez, who is the product manager / head of community / classic startup situation, which is titles are always in flux and you just are doing what you have to do to make the company succeed, at Erth, which is a Web3 gaming company, a little bit cryptic right now. I think more will be revealed about this company over time, but founded by some known names that are also, I think, anonymous at the moment. One of the more complicated introductions I've given, but did all of that sound right, Alexi?
Spot on.
Yeah. Love it. And this is our weekly recap episode. So Alexi is joining me here today to talk about all the latest in NFT and metaverse news over the past week. We'll talk about the updates to y00ts. We're going to talk about Digidaigaku, which is a project I think is cool and you should be tracking, the Stoics project. Honestly, really talking about a lot of new NFT projects that I am just kind of tracking, thinking are interesting. And I'm sure we'll get into some other stuffs as well. I also, Alexi, want you to talk a little bit about your background for folks. You worked at Meta, I think only when it was Facebook, but you can clarify, and have been in the gaming world via that for a number of years. So want to get a little bit of your backstory. But before we get into all of that, we do need to hear a word from our lovely, lovely sponsors. And I need to remind you that if you are listening to this podcast and you are enjoying it, please subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast app, rate and review. It really helps us out when you show support in that way. And with that, here are the words from our sponsors. MetaMask is the leading Web3 wallet to get you access to everything you need in Web3. If you're just getting started on your NFT journey, you need MetaMask. And if you need to fund your MetaMask account in order to buy that NFT that you've been eyeing, well, now you can do that directly through MetaMask. Just click the blue buy button on the home screen. Personally, I'm mad that I've spent extra gas fees transferring money from Coinbase to MetaMask in order to buy NFTs. I've been using MetaMask directly and it is so much better. You can also buy stable coins and native tokens from Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, CeeLo, and others. And you can do it directly with your debit card, your credit card, through Apple Pay or Google Pay. And there is now an improved buying experience on MetaMask Mobile. You'll only see tokens that are in your region, so it's personalized to you, and you'll get real-time quotes, so you know you're always getting the best deal. If you haven't downloaded MetaMask yet, what are you waiting for? Go try it out. You can learn more about buying cryptocurrencies with MetaMask at metamask.io/buy-crypto.
IMMUTABLE is the layer 2 platform for crypto gaming. Immutable offers massive scalability with up to 9,000 transactions per second and instant transaction confirmation. No more gas fees, no more waiting around for your transaction to clear. Immutable's zero-knowledge rollup finally unlocks the world of crypto gaming. IMMUTABLE is the only gas-free NFT minting platform with over 26 million NFTs minted, all with zero gas fees. With the power of Immutable, gaming developers don't also need to become smart contract developers. They just need to plug in to Immutable's API and instantly start unlocking the full potential of crypto assets inside of games. This is why world-class companies and projects have decided to deploy on Immutable X, like GameStop, Ember Sword, Planet Quest, Illuvium, TikTok, and many more behind the scenes. So start building your game on Immutable X today at immutable.com.
All right, welcome back. Alexi, can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the gaming Web3 world and what you were doing previously at Meta?
Yes. So it was all on accident. And before I was in Web3, I was working as an account manager at Facebook on the gaming team. And so I was basically servicing any gaming companies that were running ads on Facebook. And through that work, I was specialized in the instant games platform. And that's basically like the app store of Facebook where you can not download games and you can go play. And I got into gaming on accident. Like I interned with Facebook one summer and I was actually pretty pissed off. I was on the gaming team. I like wanted to do like retail or like e-com or like travel or something that was a little closer to my lifestyle. And then I ended up on the gaming team and loved it. The people were super smart. Like the clients were super chill. Like the general vibes of gaming really were awesome. And then I never left gaming. So I went back to
give a little context. You had said to me at one point, like why you liked gaming so much. You sort of teased it there, but can you flesh that out? Like why you liked working on the games team?
Yeah, the culture of gaming is really awesome. It's like a pretty small industry and you get to know everyone fairly quickly. But I think my favorite part is like everyone's fairly logical and like very data driven. So me, that was a sales rep. I had like a fairly easy time in sales because it was never like, as long as the numbers worked, people believed you. And as long as you gave strategies that made the numbers work, then it was a really easy job. But most of the time, like the clients were really laid back. Like I was friends with most of my clients. And then I would hear horror stories from friends at Facebook that were like on retail that had clients that were just really not grounded in facts or not very effective, and like their job was just infinitely harder. So I've loved gaming, and then like people in gaming tend to stay in gaming, so you end up seeing the same faces over and over again and working with the same crowd, and it's a great crowd. So I just love working in gaming.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you by accident ended up in Web3.
Yeah. So I think it was like September 2021, and like NFTs were super hot, and I was just kind of like on the sidelines, and one of my friends had just quit Facebook and joined Reddit, and then quit Reddit to go do Web3 full time, and she had like made a ton of money doing NFTs, and I was like, okay, I need to pay attention to what's going on here, and I impulsively bought a ticket to NFT NYC just to like dive in. And I ended up meeting my current boss at like a random happy hour. Like I went to this happy hour just because I had a few hours to kill. And I went by myself, and I see this guy standing by himself next to the bar. And I was like, okay, I'll go talk to him. And then it turns out that we had like, he worked at Zynga and he was familiar with the instant games platform. And like I was working with Zynga on the Facebook side on their instant games platform. So we had like all this weird overlap. And then he kind of like pitched me this idea of Erth and was like, we're hiring product managers. And like, I know you're in sales, but like, would you be interested in this job? And I was trying to move into product. So I was just like, uh-huh. And then
Nodding away like, yeah, I would be willing to consider product management, the job that's actually my dream.
Yes. And then small world, his fiance was my biggest client at Facebook. And so I get a call from like his fiance a few days later being like, oh my God, I heard we have a mutual friend. And she sends me a picture of them. And I was like, oh, what? So it was just like all of these lines connected, and it was like the perfect job for me. And then I had to take it. So now I'm in Web3 gaming.
What do you feel like are the biggest differences that you're observing, if you can speak to it, like between the gaming world in Web3 and the gaming world at large?
Gaming world, I think Web3 versus Web2, it's like Web2, you can buy your way out of almost everything. Like you launch an app, and it's like, it's not very brand heavy. Like it's very game specific and like title heavy. And so like you can mess up as a brand for the most part, especially if you're like a small game developer, like, or a smaller studio, and it's not public. Like you don't really get any lashback. Like you can do a lot of testing really quietly and sneakily and like buy your way through testing. And Web3 is the opposite, where it's like very brand oriented. A lot of like testing very publicly and like experimenting very publicly and learning in public. And like it's just kind of crazy. Like if a game doesn't work, or a lot of times in Web2, like a game wouldn't work and it's fine, you like go back to the drawing board, you like tweak it a little bit, and then you release it. And here I feel like people are so quick to dismiss projects if it's not good versus like sticking around, which is also why the DeGods project is so interesting. But like you have a lot less room for error in Web3 because it is so public and because people are not very patient. So I think that's
interesting. That's interesting, and actually, that segues us well because into DeGods, because I feel like every project in Web3 messes up, and so my instinct is that there actually is room for forgiveness in Web3 because everybody kind of messes up in public. But I see what you're saying as well. I think it's sort of, you know, what part of the project, where in the flow of things, how they handle it after, like, you know, where all of that falls. You know, both can be true. So let's get into DeGods y00ts. We gave a decent overview of this project on last week's episode, so I don't know if we want to totally go through all of that. I can give some of the y00ts updates, but what are your initial feelings on y00ts, DeGods? Were you on the list? Do you have a y00ts? What's the update?
I was not on the list. Unfortunately, I was like full vacation mode, no service during all of this. So I wasn't able to take advantage of any of it. I feel like it blew up pretty quickly though. Like all of a sudden I was hearing about Dust, and now it's like y00ts is one of the top 5 projects, or like DeGods is one of the top 5 projects. So it's been pretty impressive how they've been able to have such a successful mint during such a quiet time in the market. And I love how they just like fully embrace that they failed earlier. Like the 3 lines that they shared, like I'm blanking on them now, but it was like
Their big thing is like we kind of like we failed, we tried again, we learned some shit, we tried again, and now we're here, kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
So so they're the number one project on Solana, and the top 10 projects behind them combined market cap still is less than the market cap of DeGods alone on Solana, which I think is incredibly impressive. Do you like the project, or do you think it's like it'll flame out?
I like it.
Do you have
so
a view
far
on that?
I don't think I have like a super strong view. I'm super impressed with the project. I like it. The art is like a little underwhelming for me, honestly, but like at least from a youth standpoint, I like the DeGods. I like the mechanics that they've baked in with like the changing of the art, but it's still being within the same collection. Like that, I think is fairly unique and something I haven't seen a ton. But yeah, I'm curious to see how it does. I feel like it has a really strong start, and I can't imagine it totally tanking in the next week or two. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so you just mentioned the y00ts art, but I'm not convinced we have seen the y00ts art yet. It's very confusing. There is some stuff online. Alexander42.eth posted something, thoughts on y00ts art, and then Frank DeGods, who's the founder of the project, replied to that post saying thoughts on y00ts art, which included some images, and Frank said it's all right, it's could be better. And so I'm like not clear if this is all a joke or if because this art that we're looking at right now is not actually on the y00ts like Twitter. It's not on the y00ts site. I'm still seeing the tubes, the TOOBS, which is what you have before, you basically trade that in for your y00t. Okay, well, by the time this airs, we'll probably have seen the y00ts art because minting or because like the waitlist stuff, minting started, recently. We're recording this on Thursday. There was a little bit of drama there. We'll get into that. I think the big updates here today is this week, you have this announcement that Dust Labs raised $7 million. So for context for folks, again, we got into some of this last week, but DeGods launched. It was a pretty hyped, popular project on Solana. Then there was some FUD. It sort of started falling as a project. They revamped it by saying basically, by improving the art. Basically, they redesigned all of the art and said, okay, like over the course of the next X number of months, you can swap your DeGods character for a DeGods art. The DeGods art was a lot nicer, a lot more polished, etc. That sort of revived interest in the project. It had this big comeback, but they have every kind of step of the way, I feel like, had these tech challenges. And Frank DeGods went on Proof, went on Kevin Rose's podcast and talked about this as how he'll announce these sort of unrealistic deadlines on Twitter as a way to force his team to like move faster, to force them all to move faster and to try and hit these frankly unrealistic deadlines. And then they end up having to push the deadline back anyway. But they also end up, it seems, having like tech challenges along the way. So that was once again an issue here with this latest mint. And this will get us back to Dust Labs, for which they just raised $7 million. But I am not entirely clear what went wrong yesterday during all of this. Again, recording this on Thursday. The mint was supposed to happen of some sort on Wednesday. I listened to literally 35 minutes of the hour-long spaces that Frank put on, and I still couldn't figure out what the hell had happened, because it was just like it started from the middle with people like, I'm sad and my thing didn't work and I need to be reimbursed. So he was fielding all of these questions but never actually kind of gave an explanation for what happened. My sense of things is that after some initial mint, and Alexi, if you have more intel, you can chime in here, but after the initial mint, they additionally did a raffle that was to allow, like, it was going to be like 10 additional people could mint y00ts or something. And Frank essentially messed up, got confused. It had been a long day of just things going on, and thought it was supposed to be 100 available to mint. Nice. So changed it from 10 to 100, but they actually did only have 10. And so that unleashed a lot of chaos. They had to refund a bunch of people who were trying to mint something that didn't exist. And additionally, it seems that even throughout the whole day yesterday, there was just a lack of communication from the y00ts DeGods team around like the minting process and for people on the wait list and how many were going to be available. The theme seemed to be that just like the numbers were off in this throughout this experience of like people expecting there were 3,400 for people on the wait list to mint, and then it turned out it was fewer, and they had held some back for like a DAO treasury they were setting up, and just a lot of kind of missed communications, and then even some like kind of blundered tech moments in talking about how they were looking to rectify all this. And this will get us back to Dust Labs, which was the big announcement of the last week, call it. I think they're looking to kind of upgrade the tech team, not in a diss way to the people they've been working with up to this point. I think they're still going to be involved, but they have this really scrappy team that's very good at like, let's execute really quick, and looking to use some of the money from Dust Labs, the $7 million, to hire like a best-in-class sort of dev team to build out their future marketplaces and some of these plans that we talked about a bit on the podcast last week. So long ramble there, but that seems to be sort of the latest in y00ts, is like 7 million raised, blundered y00ts mint, still a lot of enthusiasm for the project. I also want to talk about just like a character profile on Frank himself. I don't know if you got to listen to the proof interview with him, but I'll pause there and see if you have any reactions.
I haven't listened to him. I feel like I haven't interacted with him that much on Twitter too, so I don't know if I have any good commentary, but now I definitely will go look at him after this.
Do you think this is an example where I feel like, you know, DeGods is a project that has had blunders in the past and seems to consistently be able to overcome them? Does that fly in the face of your theory that people in Web3 are less forgiving?
I mean, that one, I think the biggest difference is like they really owned up to it. And I think a lot of projects like don't totally own up to it. Like they'll blame a lot of other things, and like they just never accept the fact that it's their fault for messing something up. But DeGods did a great job of just owning the fact that they've tried some shit, failed, and then are trying new shit. So I think that really lands well, and it like helps build more trust with the community. Like when you know that the team you're investing in is like fully aware of their flaws and what they're capable of.
To an almost hilarious degree. So in this Twitter Spaces that I was describing, and I listened through like 30 minutes of this, and I did at one point imagine if this was like an established Web 2 like public company, and I was just like laughing my ass off thinking about how absurd this would be, where you have this like, Frank is a very like particular brand of bro who's like up there being like, fuck man, you know, it was just a really long day, and it's been a lot, and I was up at 2 a.m. and like, you know, I'm like imagining some like public company CEO just like on Twitter Spaces with a bunch of people being like, Jesus Christ, my brother. Like it's just hilarious. Anyway, so definitely we're in a totally different world over here in Web3, and we're in our own like bizarre bubble. But to the point you just made, I mean, Frank literally didn't let people say nice things about the project. So he's bringing up all these people to ask questions and you know, tell them what went wrong. Effectively, it's like this like airing of grievances call. And you had somebody come up and was like, hey, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate you guys. I'm still really bullish on the project. And Frank's like, sorry, I had to mute that guy. This is not what this is about. I don't want to accept any compliments. We've got probably 500 people in the audience here who really don't feel grateful for DeGods. So like, just absolutely no positivity. Like, I just want you to basically like, you know, shit on me this entire call. And then the next person who got up like was like, yeah, I want to say thank you, and like you know, had a question. He's like, no, stop, like, did you not hear what I just said? Like don't thank us. So I mean, there's a huge amount of taking accountability. Somebody else on the call was like, we essentially saying like, you shouldn't get any praise because you just did the right thing. Like, you don't get a cookie basically for refunding people for a mistake that you made. That's just like what you need to do. And Frank was like 100,000%. That's exactly right. Like, you know, just, we deserve all of the hate. So I totally agree. I give them a lot of credit for being really willing to take full responsibility. I think the first contrast that pops to mind is like Azuki and their Twitter space that was received way worse, of like just very little accountability for past behavior. So absolutely credit to the DeGods team for that, and that seems to be one of their strengths. I will also say, and I've written a blog post about this that I think I'm going to publish, part of their ability to bounce back from missteps is I think there is a core to that brand. You could like a vibe, a je ne sais quoi, like a whatever, that really resonates for people. And successful projects, you need the hustle, the incredible hard work, like the ability to viral market, which I think DeGods does very well, and in theory, y00ts by extension. They have all that, but there's also just like, will it hit the consumer in the right place? And this is a project that I think hits the consumer, or a whole bunch of consumers, in the right place. And
sure.
when I was listening to Frank talk on Proof, what was coming to mind was this story that Dave Chappelle once told of Kanye West. Do you know it? Do you have a sense of what I'm about to say? Okay, I'm going to
I
tell
don't
the
think
story.
so.
So Dave Chappelle on, I think it was like Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, like one of the Jimmy shows. This was years ago. Told a story about hanging out with like a young Kanye, and it was before Kanye had really hit it big. And they're hanging out, a few of them, and they're watching never before seen episodes or cuts of the Chappelle Show. And Kanye apparently gets a call in the middle of this, and he's like, "No, like I can't hang out right now." I'm like, "No, like." Because I'm hanging out with Dave Chappelle watching like never before seen episodes of the Chappelle Show, because my life is dope and I do dope shit, and then just like hangs up. It's obviously supremely better when Dave Chappelle tells this story, but that became kind of this like, viral thing X number of years ago that's like always stuck with me. And there's a my life is dope and I do dope shit energy to the DeGods team.
Yes.
And on the one hand, they're total idiots, but but that is the energy. And like, damn, does the world love to reward like young people, but I would say probably men in particular, like young men who just like are like, we hustle hard, but then have this just like, I'm the man, I love living my life kind of energy. And I think Frank brings that for all of his also just like broy flaws, lack of sort of organization, it would appear. And so there's a lot that gets forgiven in that dynamic, because there is an energy there that people want to be around and want to be a part of, and they want to drink beer from their shoe, which is absolutely disgusting. But again, is sort of part of the kind of youthful exuberance appeal, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't even know what y00ts was. And like when I saw it coming up on my Twitter, I was like, why do I want to be a part of this? I like don't know what it is. I haven't seen the art. I like don't know anything, but like it looks cool and I want it.
Yeah, that's interesting. My first impression was like, why, and this is why I didn't end up even applying to join it, was like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess, like another one, you know what I mean? Like, why this over anything else? And it's only as I've really taken the time to dive deeper that I feel like I understand the vibe and the energy. And that comes from leadership, right? Like, we talk about these projects are about community, sure. But this stuff starts at the top, and it does start with the energy and the vibe of the founding team. And I think again, for all of the ways in which I could see Frank and the team being off-putting to a whole group of people, because again, it's a very distinct kind of a vibe. It is your bro fratty vibe. It also is exactly the reason that I think a lot of people are drawn to him. And for what it's worth, he strikes me as he's paying lip service to all the right things, right? He's paying lip service to things that make him seem like a good guy, and like he's really in it for the right reasons. And this isn't just like your typical kind of bro who's going to then go and rug the project. With all that said, he's 23. Who the hell knows, right? Like, this dude could get bored in a year. He's 23. Again, it's that like, there is nothing the world loves more than just like a hyper confident 23-year-old dude who's just like out there looking like he's loving and living his life.
Yeah.
We reward that handsomely in this world. Okay, enough about y00ts, though it is like the project of the flavor of the month for sure. And in theory, some big things coming from them, and the $7 million they just raised. Digidaigaku. Is this a project that was on your radar at all, or what are you thinking about this?
I think it's really cool. I'm like, there's not too much out there that I've seen, but I think as someone that came from Web 2 gaming into Web 3, it's been super clear that there's a lot of crypto people wanting to put crypto into games, but I think it's been done in a way that like doesn't necessarily have like good game design, or like it's not super fun. They're just like, people want games, we're making games, and like that's about it. And so it's really cool to see other people from Web 2, especially with like a really strong track record, come into Web 3 and like immediately add something innovative. Like I barely understood what he wrote in that adventure ERC 721 thread because it was so technical, but like all the TLDRs I saw or recaps of that thread were like he's adding extended base play or like I don't know, like gameplay functionality into a smart contract, which is like new and cool. So it's cool to see that like right off the bat they're innovating. And obviously as a Web3 gamer, I'm excited to see any innovation that comes from that project.
So I'll give a little context here. So Digidaigaku hits the scene, I want to say even a couple weeks ago. Like it's been around for a little while, so I'm a little late probably in covering it. But there was this recent thread that you just referenced that I thought was really interesting. That was like, all right, gotta make sure we talk about Digidaigaku. So here's the context for anybody who's missed it. It's a 2000-ish, I guess it's a 2022. It's 2022 unique NFTs. So I'm assuming that's a reference to the year of our Lord and Savior, 2022, whatever. And it's a project from Limit Break, which is a new company founded by Gabriel Leedon, and I'm blanking on the name of his co-founder. We can maybe look it up. But the Gabriel Leedon and his co-founder had previously founded. Oh, say it again.
Halpert, no, I can't say the last name. Nakagawa.
Halpert Nakagawa. And we apologize if we're totally butchering that. But the two of them had previously founded Machine Zone, which, as far as I understand it, was like a very big, successful, and remains a successful like Web2 gaming company. They did Mobile Strike, which was one of their really big games, I think, and Fear of God or some other one. Again, not a gamer, but I have been going deep on the history of gaming and like reading books on it. I'm trying to play. I'm playing catch up here, so that at least from a theoretical perspective, I understand how we landed where we've landed with games. So this is obviously something that gets people excited about any project that Limit Break, this new company, does, because Gabe Leedon does have this and his partner have a really strong track record in the gaming industry. And I know, at least for Gabe specifically, he's been in the space in the gaming world for his entire career. He got his start like in arcade gaming when he was like 19 years old. And
no way.
And yeah, and then, has just kind of worked his way through the gaming world to get where he is now. The first thing I actually saw about Digidaigaku was that Steve Aoki was buying them and he like profited. And I think this is largely a joke, but there was this this like ongoing joke of like, this is the first time Steve Aoki's ever made a profit on an NFT. And finally he did it. Congratulations, Steve. You made money trading Digidaigakus. So, but getting back to Gabe Leedon, I think he's a really interesting character, and I encourage folks to go. There's an interview he did, we'll link to on another podcast, that was just really interesting. He's just a fantastic articulator of ideas. There were two things that came up that I want to flag, and I want to get your reaction to, Alexi. So, in this interview, which Gabe did last year, like June of last year, I believe, he was like, when we get to the point in product life cycles, or call it, where we're really focused on design and UX and like, let's move a few pixels, or let's gamify our app a little bit more so like more people stay on it, or click an extra button or buy an extra thing, it means we're out of ideas. He was like, the really innovative technology, the UX doesn't matter. He's like, if I built a time machine, and it was the ugliest, most like unuser friendly thing of all frickin' time, there would still be a line around the world trying to get into this time machine. And once we're at the point where we're just like moving pixels around and trying to like squeeze the last like drop out of a lemon or whatever, but through design, like it's a dying industry. Dying is probably not exactly how you'd phrase it. It's like, look, there's still great margin there. You can make a lot of money, but it's not really innovative or interesting anymore. And this was, again, back in June of last year, but he was starting to say, like, I'm tracking what's happening in NFTs because that is a space that's really interesting. And he's like, it's funny because like, you've got all these VCs being like, well, the UX isn't good enough. And he's like, that's a good sign. The fact that this is an industry that is growing in spite of how shit all of the design experiences are, and the UX, like, it is itself a sign that this is a really viable industry. I thought that was a brilliant point that I really hadn't thought about. So I want to get your thoughts on that. And of course, that's, I think, what ended up leading him to joining Web3 now full time.
Yeah, that's funny. You bring it up. I forgot who I was talking about this with yesterday, but you were talking about how like product market fit doesn't have to be pretty, and like you don't need to have a ton of employees. Like, and one example, and I'm totally gonna get the facts wrong, but I read about this like I think a year or two ago, was like how Craigslist is like a multi-million-dollar company and has like 10 employees, and it's like the ugliest platform, like terrible UI, like kind of sketchy, but like it does the job and it like will not die. But I never heard that from like the innovation perspective. And I think he's spot on. Like when you're trying to fine tune and optimize tiny things, it's like, what are you actually working on?
Totally. Yeah. That's funny. You're right. Why hasn't Craigslist either been like overtaken or just improved? Like that is
I
the
don't know.
sketchiest looking site of all time. I feel like
Clearly
it reminds people of like the whatever want ads in a newspaper, and there's like a nostalgia play there or something.
I have to look up the revenue because it was something absurd. And I want to say it was like 5 employees or also something. Yeah, Craigslist generated 660 million in revenue last year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I guess it's the first mover advantage thing. Like if you're just early enough to that problem and you become the place that everyone knows they need to go to when they have this very specific problem, which is like just something that needs solved or sold or bought, like,
Yeah.
damn, I guess you can make it the ugliest 1990s looking damn site
Yes.
that you want.
Yes.
Okay, the other thing, there was a couple other things. Gabe said that he thinks the ultimate dream of the internet is just to put everybody on the same screen at the same time. And
Oh.
I thought that was really cool and really resonated with increasingly how I'm thinking of the metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
which is just that like we're all hanging out together in virtual places.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this before, but I think it's the CEO of Every Realm. I think maybe they've changed their name, but they're like a metaverse investment company that spun off from Republic. And the CEO said, like, to me, the metaverse is like if you're shopping on Free People online and your best friend is also shopping on Free People online, like you guys both suddenly know that, and it's no longer like that. So there's that visibility across the screen essentially. And also having interviewed Herman Narula, who's the CEO of Improbable, which is the tech company that Yuga Labs is partnered with to do the Other Side metaverse, and him really focused on this problem, which is like, yes, we've all made so much of the fact that Travis Scott's concert in Fortnite had like 14 million people attend and it raised $70 million or whatever those numbers are, but they were in cohorts of 50 or 100 people. Like you weren't actually all at that concert together. You were in like a siloed server with 100 other folks at one time, and all of that coalescing to really just craft this picture for me that Gabe was articulating a year and change ago of like, that's the end state of all this, is like, when can all humans, if we wanted to, like exist on the same room, be having the same experience at once online. And it just struck me as very prescient that he was sort of already thinking along those terms. I mean, I guess only a year ago, right? It's not like it's been that much time, but he strikes me as incredibly thoughtful. So it's not surprising to me that anything he's doing in Web3 now is getting attention, and it seems like it's well-deserved.
Yeah, for sure. And I love what he said about or what you said about if you're shopping on Free People, you should be able to do that with a friend. Or like you should know that your friend's doing that. That's something that our founders have mentioned too, how like living this virtual world should feel fun and social, and like you're not doing it siloed by yourself. It should be like an immersive experience, whether that's immersive like from a 3D sense or immersive from like a social and connection sense. But like the metaverse is more about connecting and like having the shared experience with other people.
Mm-hmm. So last thing on the Digidaigaku front, and this is what you were referencing, is most recently Gabe put out this post. Let me pull it up here. He basically took a screenshot of a bunch of code they've written, and he said, for those who did some searching through our new Adventure ERC 721 token that we released with Digidaigaku Spirits, a mouthful, we thought we would give you an in-depth explanation of where we're going with the new Adventure Quest system. So we'll post a link to this in the show notes here for anybody who wants to dive deep on this. Like you said, I'm not technical enough to fully have wrapped my head around it, though I'm talking to Robbie Ferguson, who's the president of Immutable X later, and I'm going to get him to explain it to me. But my understanding is that basically, as you said, there's actually gameplay mechanics. They've released an ERC 721, like a smart contract that itself has play mechanics somehow baked into it. And then your Digidaigaku NFT, which of course is a smart contract, has functions and calls, whatever, so it can essentially plug into these smart contract games. One thing that stood out to me is like, as you do these adventures, as you do these quests and you make progress, your progress will be stored on your Digidaigaku like NFT smart contract and metadata, which is really interesting and gets us into concepts around, your NFT changing and evolving because of actions you take. This is something I talked about with Danny Cole. Like, there's people on the art side who are thinking about this, but it's obviously really interesting from a gameplay mechanic step as well. And so anyway, it struck me as somebody who's incredibly bright, incredibly prescient, has a lot of experience in the gaming world, and so could really be poised to do some interesting stuff here. And was excited to see that thread because, again, despite not fully understanding it, I did recognize that it seems he's doing something quite interesting. There were others who were saying it was they took a lot from Cooltopia, which is interesting, and the Cool Cats team was like excited about it. They were like, "No, this is great. We spent a lot of time thinking about how we were going to write the contracts for adventures in Cooltopia, and we're thrilled that somebody is finding value in it and pulling from it."
Yeah, I love that the Cool Cats team responded like that. Like, I'm glad that they're happy that people are innovating on their ideas versus like being defensive or like gatekeeping it. So that's cool for the space.
Yeah, good overall.
COINSHIFT is a leading treasury management and infrastructure platform for DAOs and crypto businesses who need to manage their treasury operations. Every crypto org needs to manage their treasury, and COINSHIFT offers a simple, flexible, and efficient multi-chain treasury management platform built on top of the extremely secure Gnosis Safe. With COINSHIFT, your organization can go from primitive single-chain treasuries to expressive, flexible, multi-chain features such as global user management, global contracts, proposal management, and many other features that can be shared across an entire organization. COINSHIFT layers on powerful treasury management tools on top of the proven security of Gnosis Safe, allowing users to save time and reduce operational burdens and gas costs. COINSHIFT even has data tools like account reporting across the 7 chains on which it operates. Used by industry powerhouses such as Uniswap Grants, Balancer, Consensus, and Messari, COINSHIFT is speeding up the coordination and efficiency of the organizations that use it. In DeFi, you have to keep up with the frontier, and COINSHIFT makes that easy. So sign up at coinshift.xyz/bankless. There is a brand new staking feature in the Ledger Live app today. We all like staking the assets that we're bullish on, and now you can stake 7 different coins inside the Ledger Live app. Cosmos, Polkadot, Tron, Algorand, Tezos, Solana, and of course, Ethereum. With Ledger Live, you can take money from your bank account, buy your most bullish crypto asset, and stake that asset to its network, all inside the Ledger Live app. Through a partnership with Figment, Ledger also lets you choose which validator you want to stake your assets with. And Ledger is running its own validating nodes, offering a convenient way to participate in network validation, and it even comes with slashing insurance. Ledger Live is truly becoming the battle station for the bankless world, so go download Ledger Live. If you have a Ledger already, you probably already have it, and get started securely staking your crypto assets.
Okay, a couple other NFT projects to cite here. This is a fun episode. I feel like the last number of weeks, it hasn't really been about NFT projects because, it's been about the blue chips and there's been sort of other news coming out. And this one is really like a reversion to the OG days when like new projects came out and there was a lot to be excited about on that front. The Stoics by another Gabe. We've got 2 Gabes back to back. The Stoics by Gabe Weiss. Are you a Gabe Weiss fan? Do you have context here? You want to give folks any kind of context, or I'm happy to kick it off.
Kick it off.
Okay. So Gabe Weiss, a longtime artist who started getting traction, I want to say the summer of last year or so. I think he released his first piece, his first NFT in like February of last year. But my understanding, he's based in the Bay Area, is he's like spent years as like a community organizer, I think in like the political realm. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he has a background in sort of the community organizing world. And I think there's a tie to politics there. So, I know for him, the NFT thing felt like this perfect bridging of things he loves, which is like he's a community organizer type and he's an artist. And so he really hit the ground running. It felt like, at least to me, I'm sure things always are harder and take more work than than it can feel on the inside. But last year, and I think his first project was called like Art by Gabe Weiss. Like it was something very basic. And the way he describes his work on his website, I can pull this up, but it's like stream of consciousness meets cubism or something. And he's got this concept of like stream of consciousness, which I think is very cool. And so he has a new project coming out that's minting. It was supposed to mint today. Okay, it is. I'm looking now. It was actually supposed to mint yesterday, but then they had such a bot problem that they had to move the mint. So we'll talk about that. So it's minting today. Today's Thursday. But yes, very cool art. And I think actually the mint today is only for, sorry, I keep updating this, is only for pre-sale people. I think like the initial, there was the mint for his holders, then there was a mint for like some allow list folks, and I think the public mint hits this weekend. What do you think of the art? Have you seen it?
I have. I really like it. I like that it's not like just another PFP project that we're talking about. And it looks like he has some really big fans. Like the first tweet he has pinned is like one of him and Gary Vee holding the Stoic. So yeah, it looks sick. I'm not on the allow list, but I think after this call, I'm gonna try.
Public mint this weekend. Yeah. Again, we'll link for folks who want to go check it out. It's there's like a Picasso-esqueness to it. I don't know. It's really I agree. I really like it. I think it's very cool. And yeah, he's got ties. I don't know if Gary's like an early holder of his, but he was giving away allow list spots for, I guess, his future mints at VCon. So I know there were some people at VCon who, you know, are entitled to mints now because of having met up with him there, or, you know, whatever the case was. And he also, I don't know if this is how he got his start, but he's known in some ways for like drawing on interesting things. Like he did a whole thing on phone books. And I heard him say like, I just was taking these items that felt like useless. Like, why the hell do we still have phone books? And like, why are we getting phone books delivered to us? And so why not draw on it and like make something useful out of this object that is in today's day and age like kind of useless. And I think he did it as well with Cheerio boxes. He was like, my kids go through an obscene amount of Cheerios boxes, and we had all of these Cheerio boxes at home, and I was just like, feels like so wasteful. So he turned it into art. So just a cool person, a cool artist, seems very genuine. Again, does a lot to kind of build community and do right by people. So we love to see it. And I think the art is really cool. Like I totally resonate with it. So
and I hadn't noticed until right now. I'm realizing that it's mixed media. Like there's some that are over map or some over like music notes. Maybe there's a phone book in here too, but it looks like there's a bunch of really fun things that he's drawn over. Oh, money just came up. But yeah, I love the mixed media look.
You're right. He does. What does he do? I think he does an initial painting. I don't think it's a photograph. Oh, no. This is, I think, what he does. He does an initial painting. He then takes like a photo, like a very whatever high-res picture of the painting, and like uploads that, and then puts digital elements over the photo he's taken of his IRL painting. I'm pretty sure that's part of his process.
That's sick.
There's something like that I know he's done before. So you picked up on that. That was, yeah, that there's this multimedia element to his work.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. We stan. Okay. The next project / NFT that I'm calling out here is called Player Zero. This is one, I'll admit, I think I have an early look into this. There is like a public beta, or not public. There's a beta mint happening right now, but it's very hard to find information about this right now, like on a website. So I'll keep folks updated like as I get more public information, but I'm still gonna tell people about it, which is this is a like virtual record label. So I should say this: it's a record label, and it's got some people with some serious connects to the music industry backing it and involved in it. Folks who have like written songs or worked alongside like the biggest acts in the space, and like probably 10 people for whom that's the case, like who have worked with really big names in the space who are involved in this project. So it's a record label, but all of the stars, right, everybody that they have signed is a like virtual character pulled from projects you'd recognize. Meebits, Cyber Brokers, I think Moonbirds has somebody in there. And each of these stars, each of their, clients, have like a different style. So like it'll be EDM. I think the Moonbird is EDM. Again, I hope I'm not like, I hope I'm allowed to reveal all this. They are minting things right now, so I think it's okay. And they have their Cyber Broker is a pop star, and they have her first single is out. So I'm gonna play this single. I want to get your reaction to it. I won't play the whole thing. I just want to play a little piece of it, and then we'll get thoughts on like just the concept of a record label with all virtual stars. Let me know if you can hear this, because obviously the goal is that podcast people can hear this. Maybe we can insert it or something into the pod if it doesn't come through great here for folks.
I sometimes in a room full of people, it still feels empty.
So this is a cyber broker.
And I got too many emotions inside, and I cry for no reason. Am I the only one? But what about you? I know you got feelings.
I'm like, that's a banger.
That sounds like the next like viral TikTok song.
It really does remind me of college. Like that feels like a song that would have been popular. It almost reminds me of Clarity, not fully, but the Zed song Clarity. That was like such a like my freshman, sophomore year of college, like in the frat basement, like whatever. Yeah, it's kind of banging. So again, I'm hoping we're allowed to share this. We'll have inserted a little snippet of it into the episode for people to hear, and we'll share it. But yeah, I'm kind of into it. I have slightly mixed feelings about the digital pop star thing, or the virtual pop star thing, only because I'm like, God, we're literally just automating away those jobs too. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't know nearly enough about Fluff World, but like Fluff's doing something like this too, isn't it? Like all of their NFTs are sold with audio.
Ooh, that's a great. So I've been trying to get Fluff or ASMR. Altered State Machine is like the parent company to Fluff World, I guess, right? They're the parent company. I think that's the relationship there. I've been trying to get them on the pod for a while because they're doing a lot of really interesting things with like AI machine learning stuff. I know, like, I think they're, these fluffs have like their brains, and then they're trying to make them so you can go program them to like go play to earn games and make you money on the side. I don't know, weird stuff like that. I don't know about the audio components of what they're doing, but that wouldn't surprise me.
I'm almost positive that they have something similar where like one of their fluffs is like a virtual pop star, and it's like people that wanted to make music are like now making it through Fluff. Anyway, I'm probably butchering all of this because I like don't know nearly enough, but
I mean, it's such an interesting thing. Yeah, and we've talked about this on the pod a couple of times now, but like, the VMAs now have best metaverse performance as a category. Obviously, that's geared towards like real humans who are doing in metaverse performances, but I'm sure down the line, like, creating a digital pop star and building him or her, they or whatever up into as a star, and like giving them their traits and their personality and their vibe and their brand, and like that will itself be a job. And I'm sure there's a lot of like managers out there that are like, that sounds so much better than having to manage a real person with all of their like needs, and pick the green M&Ms out of the bowl in my dressing room. They're like, Amari, which is the name of this virtual cyber broker star, like doesn't give a shit what color her M&Ms are. Like she does whatever we say.
Have you seen the fake influencer? It's like an AI generated influencer. I like stumbled across it the other day on Twitter, and it's like, oh cool, I'm gonna follow her. And then like 2 days later, I get something on Google that's like fake influencer, like AI influencer gets brand deal or something. And I was like, wait, why do I know this name? And turns out I've been
you didn't know she was fake?
No.
So so there's a couple of these. There's one really big one. I can't believe I'm blanking on her name, which is probably the one you're describing, who's got like brand deals now. Yep. But then there was another one. I can't believe I'm forgetting all the details of these. It was a company it was like that rapper. There was like some company that like, or whatever, that was like our like new like rapper, and it was a metaverse rapper, and they got so much shit that they like backtracked basically immediately, and we're like, yeah, we take it back. This isn't a thing we're going to do anything with. So, I mean, look, it's coming. It is hard for me to wrap my head around, because it feels like, don't you want to see real people? But like, I heard this song and I'm like, I would still listen to the song. Like, I don't care.
Who
So
makes the music? That's like my bigger question.
So this is, I believe, my understanding is all these 10 plus names of people who had worked with who've worked with big acts. Among them are like the songwriters and I'm sure, I don't know who the vocalist is, right? But so again, that's part of their like very jacked team, are people who are writing the music and putting it out. Yeah, I mean, hey, most of these pop stars don't write their own stuff. That's what makes Taylor so unique anyway. So it's like, again, just like a less needy version of a pop star we have today. So that's called Player Zero. Again, we'll kind of the public mint is supposed to start on September 14th. So this is why I don't think I'm saying anything untoward by announcing any of this, because we're like 6 by the time this airs, 5 days out from, I think, a public mint. Oh, so I'll give those details. So essentially, they're doing these mint passes. They're on the pricey side. I think they're somewhere between like 3 and 5 ETH to mint these like initial passes. But the idea is you're in on the ground floor of Player Zero, and you'll have say in future directions of the company and the stars, and you get access to to all of the NFTs they're going to drop with the music that they release for free, I believe, if you're one of these early pass holders. There was also I don't think any of this is like fully determined yet, but that's like among the kind of benefits, and maybe access to concerts and shows and different things. So Player Zero, folks, we'll keep you posted. Wow. On and on we go with these NFTs. The other one I wanted to mention, we can be quick with this one, is Grand Leisure, the Grand Leisure NFT by Pool Suite. What do you think of this? Did you check it out? Did you know about Pool Suite? You're obsessed?
Yeah. I mean, their minting experience was so cool. I was sad that you had to like connect your wallet or authorize something before you could play around with that minting
thing. I agree.
They have this like, I guess you can customize your own NFT, and it's still within the 10,000 collection. But I was like dying to make my own character. But yeah, I was super impressed. Like, it was a beautiful minting experience. The branding was awesome. Like,
were you familiar with Pool Suite before this?
Not at all.
So this is you're like hitting the nail on the head of just like Pool Suite is they're just master branders. Like their main site, it's this whole retro beach, as the name of this new drop implies, leisure like brand. That's their vibe, and they just nail it. Like, you go on their main site and it's like retro music. It's like your boombox for the beach and your like retro 80s cell phone. Like, they just are so good at crafting a mood. But then I think their first NFT drop for like the main Pool Suite like access club was just one of those where I like wasn't clear enough to me what exactly I was getting. I think they have some like membership perks for people in LA, and I was like, well, I'm not in LA, so I didn't mint a part of that. And now they're doing this Grand Leisure NFT, which do you want to tell people a little bit? You were beating around it, but like what exactly the minting experience is in this character thing?
Yeah, so you basically click on like mint now, or there's 2 options. It lets you either like customize one, and that one's more expensive. It's like 0.25 ETH. And then the other one was like, you can get a free one that's like 1 of 8, and like they're less unique. And I forgot what else was going on with it. But obviously I wanted to customize one. And so I click on that route, and it takes you to this like cool, like machine type of screen where in the middle, it's this like blank canvas. And then it has all of these buttons on the side, like adjust skin tone, adjust hair, adjust eyes, but you have to connect your wallet and authorize a transaction. Like, you have to basically approve the transaction, and then you have 24 hours to create your NFT. But to your point, it's like, it's so immersive. Like, they thought through everything. It was like the music was spot on. Like every pop-up was branded. Like, every messaging was branded. Like, the buttons were super retro. Like, I was just dying to do it. I was like borderline considering paying for it, but I was like, no, the merge is coming. I want ETH.
I want my ETH. The merge is coming.
So I didn't go through with it, but it was I was super impressed.
Yeah. So and so it's these avatars, obviously, but you can basically, they're trying to get people to make their own, like an avatar in theory that looks like you. You don't have to do it like that, but you can customize it so you can get an avatar that really like actually looks like yourself, which is always funny to me that like we talk about like, well, how do you want to represent yourself in the virtual world? And it's like, I want to be like an alien pig. Like, you know, I don't want to be anything like me, you know? And then, yeah, they like the screen to create your custom avatar. And if you want to make it like you, is like an old school computer is what it's like designed to look like, I think, is like, you know, an 80s desktop, you know, and it's very cool. So I don't know who does the branding for that team, but they nail it. Everything I've ever seen them do has just totally nailed it. Cool. Okay. As we get close to wrapping up here, obviously the merge is coming soon. It's so close. We can taste it. Bankless had a funny tweet. I think it was still like, it was like a month ago, or maybe it was at the beginning of last month, I think. That was like, stop asking what the date of the merge is and start asking if you have a date for the merge, because like we're that close. And that's a refrain that just runs through my head. It's like, we're so close. And somebody posted, it was making the round, so I'm sure many people have seen it. We'll link to the tweet below. Somebody posted about, the steps you can take to basically get your proof of work tokens. So ETH holders will get dropped ETH proof of work tokens so long as you're kind of positioned to receive that airdrop, because you do have miners who are going to kind of continue a fork of Ethereum that is proof of work. The consensus, and this is very much my feeling, is like these tokens may initially be worth something, but like pretty much everyone's selling them off. Like these forked tokens are not going to be worth anything in the long term. So it's just going to be a race, I think, to dump. I don't know if there's going to be buyers for it. I suppose maybe there's a strand of people out there who are like into this and are going to be buying them, but I think it's just like a race to dump on like the first 10 minutes of buyers that might exist, and otherwise it's probably nothing. But doesn't hurt to get an airdrop. Can't hurt to try and get it. So we'll post this thread so you can track that. Is that your feeling as well, Alexi?
Yes. I called my dad too and was like, "You have ETH, right? Like, make sure you're doing these things." And he checked and he was like, "I have $5 in ETH." And actually, he was like, "When I bought it, you sent me $5, but now it's tanked, so now I have $2.40."
That's hilarious.
That's my plan.
That's awesome. So you're gonna do it, get it, and then dump it?
Yeah.
Same. I'm like, honestly, like I don't know who's gonna be on the other side of these trades.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
That makes me nervous. Yeah, not nervous, but like hopefully there's a buyer.
Yeah, to be determined. Binance suspended ETH and WETH deposits ahead of the merge. I have no real commentary around this, but I do want to talk about another move that Binance announced recently that I think is much more controversial, but have seen very little chatter around, to be honest. Any commentary on temporarily suspending ETH and WETH deposits ahead of the merge, or withdrawals, deposits and withdrawals? Okay, ahead of the merge.
I'm good.
No. Okay. So the big one that I find very curious is that Binance has delisted USDC from their platform, or they will be removing USDC from their platform, and they're auto converting any USDC that remains on the platform into BUSD, which is their stable coin. Like, damn, that's also some like centralized shit right there. But I guess they're, giving the warning for people to move their USDC out if they don't want it to auto convert. But like, hot damn. Thoughts on this, Alexi?
Yeah, I was shocked. Like, I'm like confused and curious to know where the line is for like delisting and like listing tokens, because like I don't know what the logic was here. I mean, I know kind of what the logic was, but like what's to stop them from removing Tether?
I think they are.
They're also removing Tether?
Hold on. I'm going to pull this up right now. We're going to find out.
They removed USDC, which is the second biggest stablecoin from a market cap perspective. So now they're like pretty well positioned to become the second, and then Tether's the biggest, but like, I don't know, that's just crazy.
Binance to delist 3 stablecoins and fold balances into BUSD. Okay. Beginning.
Go for it.
USDC, Pax dollar, and True USD. Okay, so it's TUSD. It's not Tether.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is it's, and maybe it's just that I'm not in the right like crypto circles for this. Like I'm more in the NFT circles than the DeFi circles for the most part. But I feel like it's not getting enough sort of attention in the circles that I'm flying in, because I totally agree. It seems like it's such a bold move. It's I don't know exactly what their logic is for choosing these 3. Somebody in a group chat I'm in made the point that it sort of does 2 things at once from the perspective of Binance, I'm sure, which is like there'll be headlines saying they're delisting USDC as there have been, and there will be a whole group of people that will see those headlines, don't know any details, and maybe think something's wrong with USDC. So it's sort of like, a hit on the brand of one of its largest rivals, while of course then also just like immediately, instantaneously making a market for their own coin, because suddenly there will be all of these holders of BUSD who, didn't know they were BUSD holders.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it is such a centralized move. Like, this is like giving me Apple vibes. Like, I feel like Apple does this a lot, where they'll like randomly enforce something that penalizes other people and like puts them in a better position. But we like keep using Apple, and like Binance being one of the biggest exchanges, if not the biggest. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. CZ, who's the founder of Binance, CZ, the founder and CEO of Binance, tweeted that the move is intended to consolidate stablecoin liquidity on the exchange. Okay. He also asserted that, technically speaking, the stablecoins will not be delisted from the platform. I don't understand. Emphasizing that users can still deposit and withdraw the tokens, except that they'll all be BUSD. So what are they?
So is it like not delisted, but it automatically gets converted?
I guess.
Interesting.
I guess you can't buy it. I guess you can't buy it and sell it, but you can still withdraw it.
Got it.
I think that's what it is. It's like you'll no longer be able to buy it and sell it. Your coins will be converted, but I guess what if you newly transfer USDC into the account, you'll be able to withdraw it. It's strange.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, just flagging that. And I think that's it. That's the show, folks. Lots of interesting stuff this week. But again, mostly just NFT projects that I think were kind of cool and that wanted to talk about. And otherwise, everybody get ready for their merge parties.
Yeah.
I have so much going on on September 15th, which I guess we still don't know exactly which time this will happen, right? Sometime between the 14th and the 16th.
Yeah. All I know is there's a party in Austin happening for the ETH merge, and I got a ticket.
Excellent. Oh, what night is it? Is it on the 15th?
I don't know. It's between the 14th and the 16th. I'll double check. Maybe it's the 15th.
David Hoffman of Bankless, hopefully I'm not blowing up his spot, is having some people over. So I want to go to that. But I also have I have a friend who's performing a DJ set that night that I've promised I'll attend. And I have my parents in town, so I'm supposed to be getting dinner with my parents. So I'm like, a lot happening on September 15th, man. It's a big day.
Yeah. Okay. My party is September 15th.
Yeah. It seems like that's the day that everyone's sort of convened on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Alexi, thank you so much for joining. We'll have you back someday when you can, share a little bit more about the ultimately mysterious .Erth and the ultimately mysterious founding team.
Yes.
And until next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.